Welcome.
Hi again.
How
Sorry.
are you, Mike?
Oh, it's just a routine day. Routine day.
Congratulations.
Just realized how quickly I want to do some just to thank you for
Yeah, it's awesome.
Mike, you won the Stanley Cup. Why Owen Sound?
I just was talking to Bill. It's the easiest decision I've ever made as far as you look back. I mean, this is where I've said all along. This is where my daughters were born. This is where that ownership group gave me a chance to start my career as an ice hockey manager. They had the confidence in me to do it. I loved the 5 years I had here to a point of, I mean, obviously. I mean, the only other times I had tears in my eyes is when I saw the parade, just of joy watching the Go ahead.
Mike, you mentioned the two daughters in your 5 years here in Owen Sound.
3. I didn't lose one on the way
3
up.
daughters. Hockey-wise, biggest memory of being in Owen Sound?
The game in, for me personally, the game in Kitchener. It was Mike Angelidis in overtime. I mean, we'd gone through, I've gone through some difficult times playoff-wise, and we got to a certain point, and we had the 1 year the team that was really built to go a long way struggled with Mike Richards, no doubt, who actually we discussed that on the ice with the Stanley Cup, but it was it was disappointing. And then to come back with a team like that, and I think to have that win and have the fans of Owen Sound be able to be in Kitchener and walk out of there with the same pride that they went through when they won the championship here, it was a big night for us. And on top, it's just the players. I mean, Mark Giordano, I mean, Andre Sakira, we all keep in touch. I mean, I've got Bobby Ryan's jersey signed here somewhere for Helen Lewis, so she can. That's the part of it that's special. I mean, Trevor Lewis, Brad Richardson. I continue to exercise my rights in the job I do to show my loyalty to the kids that I think are special players here. I mean, at numerous times we've had Patty Jarrett, Michael Luzis, David Kolomaitis in our lineup, and then we were fortunate last week we had Curtis McDermott down, and we signed Curtis. I think it's a wonderful community for a kid to play hockey and live. And it's not always, you can find places to play hockey nowadays. It's not always the case that you can find great places to live and play hockey. And I just love it here. So if I knew where my daughters were, I'd be spending some of that time with them.
You mentioned all those players, the group that won the Stanley Cup. When did you have a sense that you thought this team was special? Was it beating Vancouver, or was it the second round against St.
Honestly, it was earlier in the year they thought there was a special team. Obviously, we had struggled to score goals, but I think the Vancouver series clearly, there was no doubt. Like normally you would look when you're drawing the number 1 seed, and it's not a knock, but there wasn't a fear factor that we had against them, and I think the guys went in with that. They'd been playing such tough games for so long, adversity didn't mean anything, and they just kept battling through, and it was special. It wasn't. I think they convinced themselves in that round that, you know what, we just took out the best team and did it in pretty quick fashion, and this could be special. And then they got on a roll, and the way they won on the road and the way we produced on the road was, it got to the point that you felt, what's going on here? We lost the game. Like when all of a sudden we were in a series against New Jersey, and everybody's looking around like, what's wrong? I mean, that's the way hockey's supposed to be. You're supposed to be in a series. So I hope that makes, we talked, I think that should toughen them up for the future, because you never want them to think that it's that easy to kind of roll through everybody. So hopefully the adversity they went to, when they get her together and get back playing here, makes it that much special.
That 6-1 game, that clinching game, when did you know that game, that, wow, we're going to be champions?
Well, I don't know. I think probably you have to, in the first period you had a feeling, and that you don't ever want to count your, and then they scored early, I think, to make it 4-1, and then we just kept pouring it. It was one of those things. I think we scored the 5th goal, and then you realize, you start celebrating as a group, and you're getting your wristbands to go down on the ice. And I mean, for me, I spent more time with the Dowdies and the Richardsons, and it was such an unbelievably incredible experience. This kind of day you only dream about as a kid, and then you go into, we've got our ring ceremonies and stuff coming up, and when they call and ask you how to spell your name in the Stanley Cup, I can't really describe a better feeling for a young hockey guy than have that.
Mike, one last question. You mentioned Trevor Lewis, you mentioned Richardson. Now you guys have signed that big defenseman Curtis McDermott. What did you guys as an organization see in him?
Well, it was something that I had orchestrated in the 7th round. If we'd called him to be a free agent, and it was basically extending ourselves another pick. Curtis and I and the McDermotts have a tremendous relationship. I don't think I've ever seen kids work harder in the gym than Andy O'Leary did and the McDermotts when I was up here. It was just a clinic watching them work out. I saw Curtis a couple years back. He was 5'9". He's now 6'4", 206 pounds. He's still adjusting to that rig. I mean, it's like someone woke him up in a new body. So all the stuff against him, there's not pressure against him. The pressure on him is to learn how to adjust and get himself his mobility and his awkwardness. He's got the heart of a lion. He's got the heart of a McDermott, and it's like playing with house money. I mean, he's an addition to our team, and he's a project, and we've got a great development team that's just frothing to be able to work with a guy that big.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much.